There's a lot of discourse around the new Odyssey movie. The casting of Lupita Nyong'o as Helen has started a firestorm online. I even made a video about it a couple of months ago. But here's the thing. People love saying beauty is in the eye of the beholder, like that completely proves beauty is subjective, but the idea falls apart when you actually look at biology, science, and human behavior. Yes, personal preference absolutely exists, but acting like beauty has no objective standard is mostly just a coping mechanism that people use to avoid admitting that some traits are naturally seen as more attractive than others. There's a reason humans across different countries, cultures, and time periods keep choosing the same kind of features as attractive. That doesn't just happen randomly. Biology is one of the biggest reasons objective beauty exists. Humans are naturally wired to notice signs of health, strength, and good genetics. That's why symmetrical faces are almost always considered more attractive. When both sides of someone's face match evenly, the brain connects it with healthy development. And this isn't just something society teaches people. Scientists have done studies with newborn babies and found that babies stare longer at faces adults consider attractive. Babies don't know anything about beauty standards or celebrities or social media, so that means humans are born with the natural sense of what beauty looks like. People can deny it all they want, but biology clearly plays a role. Nature also shows that beauty follows objective patterns. There's something called the golden ratio, which is a mathematical proportion found throughout nature. You can see it in flowers, seashells, hurricanes, galaxies. Humans naturally find these patterns visually satisfying because they create balance and harmony. As a matter of fact, there's a website online where you can upload your picture and it'll tell you how close to the golden ratio you are. That same idea appears in art, architecture, and photography. Famous paintings, buildings, and even movies use symmetry, proportion, and balance because people naturally respond well to them. The rule of thirds in photography exists for a reason. Balanced images look better to most people, but even if someone doesn't understand the math behind it, the brain still reacts positively to those patterns. Philosophers understood this a long time ago too. Plato believed that beauty came from harmony, order, and proportion, not random opinion. Immanuel Kant also argued that humans share common ideas about beauty even if they have personal preferences. That explains why almost everyone can agree that things like sunsets, snowy mountains, star-filled skies, or certain pieces of music are beautiful. People absolutely still have preferences, obviously. Someone might prefer blonde hair while someone else likes dark hair. One person may like tattoos while another doesn't. Life experience, culture, and memories can affect what individuals personally like. That's where beauty is in the eye of the beholder comes in, but that phrase is more of an exception to the rule than the rule itself. For example, someone might personally prefer a certain style that most people don't find attractive, but that doesn't suddenly erase the existence of objective standards. Personal taste can influence attraction, but it doesn't completely replace the natural patterns humans consistently recognize as beautiful.
Simp.
A person can prefer something outside of the standard all day long, but they still have an understanding of what the standard is. The truth is that beauty clearly has objective foundations rooted in biology, math, nature, and human psychology. Personal preference exists around those standards, but not in place of them. So while people love repeating beauty is subjective, the evidence shows that humans are naturally drawn to many of the same traits for a reason. We're also quick to point out that beauty is in the eye of the beholder because, frankly, it feels polite. It levels the playing field and makes everything subjective, which is a nice idea, but it's a coping mechanism, not reality. When you actually stop and look at true science, it's clear that we aren't just making it up as we go along. We're hardwired from birth to recognize harmony, health, and proportions. And those aren't just opinions. Those are building blocks of how our brains are designed to see the world. I think the biggest evidence of this is if you go to the hub. You're not going to see a whole lot of unattractive women. You're not going to be looking up unattractive women when you're on the hub. Everybody flocks to certain actresses because they share certain traits. When it comes to our pure, unfiltered, carnal desires, we don't look for the eye of the beholder. We look for the body of a goddess. And the shift in how we define female beauty isn't just some random trend. It's actually a pretty big change in what art and entertainment are even supposed to do or be. Beauty used to be something that people saw as aspirational. It was like the goal or the standard. Movie stars and models were supposed to represent the best of the best. That was the whole point of them being on screen or in magazines. Ironically, though, if you look at the male side of the industry, that standard is still clearly there. Studios aren't suddenly replacing all of the Chris's in the MCU or guys like Jason Momoa or Tatum Hemsworth with average-looking actors just to make people feel better about themselves. The expectation for men in leading roles is still basically the same. They're supposed to look strong, attractive, and larger than life. But for women, that benchmark has been mostly torn down. Instead of aiming for the pinnacle version of beauty, the focus has shifted toward being relatable. And in the process, a lot of people argue that Hollywood has kind of forgotten the one most basic rule of entertainment: sex sells. Instead of trying to captivate or inspire people, the goal now seems more about making everyone feel comfortable and included. Because of that shift, actresses like Bella Ramsey, Odessa how do you say her name? Azion, Millie Bobby Brown, and Anya Taylor-Joy are often presented as the new faces of stardom. The message that comes across is that accessibility and relatability are the new ideal, not being some high, untouchable standard of beauty. A lot of people see this as culture actively rewarding mediocrity. Constantly labeling everyone as beautiful in articles, think pieces, and comments sections so nobody feels left out is crazy. And I see a lot of online discourse about Sydney Sweeney. Everybody says she's not as good looking as we think she is. And you know what? That may be true. If I'm being honest, I think every girl I've ever dated or had a relationship with was better looking than Sydney Sweeney. But the fact is, when you compare her to Bella Ramsey or Millie Bobby Brown or Anya Taylor-Joy, she really is a breath of fresh air. It's nice to take a break from relatable and just take in the eye candy. And this becomes even more obvious when you look at major institutions that used to represent very high beauty standards. Look at the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. It used to exist to show the hottest women on the planet. Now it shows stuff like this and this and this. It's like the whole world is upside down. Victoria's Secret built its entire brand around that kind of ideal, but then it ended up damaging its own image by making this person the face of lingerie at one point. When companies like that move away from focusing on the extraordinary standard, it isn't just a small marketing change. And from that perspective, it starts to look like society is basically saying that aiming for high objective standards of beauty is something people should feel bad about. And in doing so, it creates a double standard. It ends up removing the idea of the aspirational female icon, but it still keeps that same kind of aspirational standard for men. And that's how we ended up with Lupita Nyong'o as Helen.
Racist.
If the culture decides that everyone is beautiful or everyone is a star, then the very concept of a star loses its meaning. It becomes a closed loop of self-congratulation that lacks the tension necessary to produce genuine beauty. For women, there is no longer anything to aspire to. Fat? That's beautiful. Gross? That's beautiful. Ugly? That's beautiful. We are essentially witnessing a de-evolution of culture where we're trading our potential for growth for the short-term safety of being included. Personal taste absolutely exists. That's the fun part of being an individual. If you like Lupita Nyong'o, that's your thing, cool, I get it. I've had a weird attraction to Jodie Foster my whole life. But you know what? I've never tried to convince anyone that she's beautiful. So let's stop pretending that our personal preference somehow erases the universal standards that have been staring us in the face since the dawn of time. We can recognize beauty in a sunset or a masterpiece because we're built to respond to order, math, and balance, not because we've been told to. Acknowledging that beauty has an objective foundation doesn't mean we have to be robots about it, but it does mean we can stop lying to ourselves about why we find certain things compelling. We're drawn to these patterns for a reason, and it's about time we stopped acting like that's a secret. Fat chicks are fat, ugly chicks are ugly, and this chick's face would not launch 1,000 ships by any stretch of the imagination.
Racist.
So can we just stop it? Now, just a quick note, some people may have noticed a pattern in the women that I chose to represent beauty, but I didn't pull those out of thin air. I found it on IMDb's list of most beautiful actresses. I didn't make the list, I just adhered to it. So if you have any problem with that, I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, that's it. Am I right? Am I wrong? Let me know all the reasons I'm an idiot in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, click notifications, and I will see you next time.